you see here a definition, and when you read it, they should be aligned, concrete, measurable, and so on. It's a typical definition you find also for OKRs, and that's why we also here in this setting, because it's obviously a good decision to formulate your cloud goals in such a way. But to get there, I would like to give you an example of a typical challenge when you define cloud goals. This is that we often see conflicting goals. So and to get there, what you see here are the typical three stakeholder groups. You have the IT department, who are really focused on getting out of their operational hell. You have compliance groups like data privacy and information security, who are really concerned about what authorities demand for a cloud transformation. And you have like people around business units, management, and developers who struggle around the pressure for change and innovation and how to make the customers happy. Now, all of them come up with cloud goals, and the IT department will say, well, we need to decrease complexity, we need to improve infrastructure resilience, we need to reduce IT costs. The compliance people say we want to increase transparency, we want to increase security, we want to decrease risk probability. And the business units say we want to decrease the time to market, increase innovation capabilities, and want to perform as much experiments as possible. And all these goals, we know they are not concrete yet, but all these goals are from a content perspective are totally fine. They're correct. It's typical for most of the companies to have such goals. The problem lies in these silos. And when we look at an example, what happens when we pick out these three goals and see what happens when we need a solution for provisioning cloud infrastructure. All these stakeholder groups during the cloud transformation will go to work. They all have their goal. What will they come up with? So the IT will say, okay, we need to decrease complexity. Therefore, we will have a centralized approach how infrastructure is provisioned. And this means we have one single point of contact. There's maybe a ticket system, and there are all the people who want to use infrastructure get into this single point of contact and then get the infrastructure so they can decrease their complexity and handle it, all the demand. The compliance people will say, okay, we need to increase transparency. That's why we come up with a policy where you have to document and approve every change within the infrastructure, also in the cloud infrastructure with a change ticket. Also quite common and typical check for that goal. But what does this mean for the developers and the business units? Actually, they need to wait longer for infrastructure and they have an increased time to market. So it's getting worse for them. They are not achieving their goal. This is because these goals they have are some sort of conflicting. In this way, they're operated and executed here. So what could be a better way? A better way would be to have all those goals. We change nothing with the goals, but all the goals are aligned with everyone. So they're true for everyone. So when they're now, same example, take the same three goals, but now they are true for every stakeholder group. What happens now? The IT will say, okay, we need a decentralized approach. So not a centralized, but a decentralized approach where all the people who demand infrastructure will do it by themselves because we have a self-service capability from the cloud provider and we do it this way. This way, we will manage decreased complexity. We will increase transparency because everything is done via an API. And we decrease the time to market because it will be really fast for all the people who demand it. The compliance people will say, okay, we still want to write a policy, but it's different. It says, well, you need to have an automated deployment of cloud infrastructure with infrastructure as code. And this way, we will have decreased complexity because we will have templates. We'll have transparency because we can look into the code and we have a pipeline that stops automatically when there's some issue. And we have a decreased time to market because it's automated, it's quite fast and no human is involved into this process. And so also their goals are checked. And for the developers and business units, well, when they need something, they can provision it on their own, on demand, within minutes. It's only their scope, so they only need to handle their infrastructure. So they have a decreased complexity. Know totally what they need. They have infrastructure as code, so they have transparency, and of course it's quite fast. So they have also all the goals checked. So, and of course this is highly simplified here, but it showcases that when you have isolated goals, you might come up with conflicting solutions that won't help everyone. And that when you combine and align the goals, you might come up with totally different solutions, but that still fit for everyone and in the end bring the real value for everyone.